From the ECSI Sports Studios and the #1 sports investors in America, we bring you the closing bell. As the market closes, legends Jeff Dawson and Riley Magnuson bring you all the sports investing tips for tonight's matchups. If you want to learn more from the two legends at the desk, make sure you stay tuned to the closing bell. ECSI fans, do you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all of your sports books and track all of your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You can also sign up for sportsbooks and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as they're the best account on the platform. Head to the App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire to download the app.
Good evening, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the co-host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is the closing bell with Riley Magnuson for Monday, November 20th, 2023. You survived another weekend. Hopefully, you're still in all your survivor contests. Unfortunately, I'm not. I'll do a quick rant on that. One of my golden rules is, try when possible to take the home team. Obviously, try when possible to take a favorite. But one of the big golden rules is stay away from divisional games. And I don't know why I didn't flock to Jacksonville, and I'm not playing Monday morning quarterback. I got stuck on the Commanders, who closed 10-point favorites, who shouldn't be 10-point favorites over Bridgewater State College at this point. I knew right away, turned it over on the first possession, their first of 6 possessions, by the way. So there were 4 left in my local contest, and of course, I'm outside looking in. So it is what it is. Shout out to the gentleman behind the glass, Joseph Shea and Evan Lewis. Thank you guys so much for all that you do. Kate Orton, Evan, and Olu as well there. And a shout out to our sponsor and proud partnership, WagerWire. If you have not already downloaded the app, go to Google Play or wherever you download apps. Download it. It's free. Get accustomed to it. Take a look at a lot of the free promos, free match bonuses, free wagers, paybacks, yada, yada, yada. Start tracking your bets, start tracking your ROI, and seeing that we're, I think I said in our alert, like 34, 35, 36 days from Christmas, send an email to affiliates at wagerwire.com. Tell them JD from ECSI sent you. Travis, Zach, the rest of their team and community will take good care of you there. Without further ado, one of our favorite shows of the day, little weekend recap. It's a short week here with Thanksgiving on Thursday. So to be honest with you guys, my weekly show with Travis tomorrow morning will not be scheduled because Travis is traveling to Alaska to see his sister for the holidays. Wednesday shows will actually be Friday shows because Thursday's the holiday, and Friday I will be at BC Miami, my last home game of the season that I work all the BC home games. So tomorrow night we'll be traveling up to the compound, co-hosting with Anthony Pepe and Sports Map Radio. So busy, all kind of condensed into 3 days. So without further ado, let's bring him in. The co-host of this show, the one and only Mr. Southside Riley. Good evening, sir.
Hello, my friend. Happy Monday afternoon. As you mentioned, short week this week. Good recap day for sure, as it always is here on Monday. Obviously got a big, obviously, 2 teams here on Monday night. A loss for either of them is not going to, make or break anything for either of these 2 teams tonight. But obviously, Super Bowl rematch is going to get the people talking. So excited to talk down, go down that road once we get there to talk that game. And obviously a handful of other things going on tonight and today. Obviously, college basketball all week long, kind of a smorgasbord of all-day college basketball. Tough to really I'm sure there's a couple that we'll talk about, but obviously there's been some that have been going on all day, so tough to cap or give a cap as of 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock right now of the entire day, obviously because a lot of games already going on. Really good game about to tip off right now, Purdue Gonzaga. But aside from that, obviously, Wednesday morning, if you and I talk, we'll have plenty to talk about Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I imagine. But aside from that, ready to rock and roll with some good recap of the world of football that we just saw this past weekend, my friend.
Yeah, I don't really know where to start. Usually, the last handful of Mondays, I've been chomping at the bit, and we've had these hour and 10, 20, even hour and a half shows. I'm really going to try to condense it for us here today. I don't think as much has gone on. Nothing's really at the tip of my tongue. I'll go back to Saturday. Um, Georgia with another statement. Alabama played Chattanooga. Really looking at the outside teams here. The Alabamas, obviously. The whole world was on Oregon State, and Washington said not so fast. They took care of business there. So now, most likely setting up an undefeated Washington with a one-loss Oregon team if everything holds up this week, which to me really means that a Pac 12 team is going to get in. Obviously, if Washington goes undefeated, they're not going to be left out. There is going to be some talks if an undefeated Florida State gets in with the injury to Jordan Travis. Will they get in? People will start saying, well, if Alabama beats Georgia, Alabama's in because they're the SEC champs. Well, how are you going to leave this dominating two-time national champ with only one loss with their starting quarterback that's gotten better and better each week? And then, of course, Texas outside looking in. Hey, we beat Alabama already, but it was week 4 in Tuscaloosa. And then, of course, we got the big game on Saturday right now. Michigan 4.5-point favorites against Ohio State. No Jim Harbaugh there. So a lot to pluck through. So I'm going to turn it over to you and let you start chirping.
Right, and like you said, with college football, it kind of comes down to this upcoming week to shake a few things out, and then probably the following week. I mean, we kind of keep waiting for one of these teams to get upset or something, and they don't. I mean, as far as Florida State is concerned, I think that is obviously. I mean, goes without saying how unfortunate that is. And they've got a game against Florida now without Jordan Travis. You never know what the heck could happen there. I mean, that could be the team that. That would obviously be a real shame if they lost their undefeated season in the last week to a mediocre Florida team. But who knows what happens with them there. But even after that, not enough. There's not a lot of respect for the ACC this season. Obviously, I was even seeing before the Jordan Travis injury, people were breaking things down and leaving an undefeated Florida State team out with Jordan Travis. So I almost think, especially because we've heard that sometimes in a lot of cases they do factor that type of stuff in, as opposed to the old BCS model where it's computer rankings, blah blah blah. So I think that is one of the answers is who's getting in is Florida State kind of bowing out, unfortunately, unless they put up some ridiculous style points and win 65 to 10 with the team they have now these next couple of weeks. I mean, maybe that's what they have to do to get themselves in, to get some giant statement wins here, because even the ACC championship, it's not going to be a scrub game. It's not like the Big Ten where you're penciling in, either Ohio State, Michigan past obviously the Big Ten championship against Iowa. You're penciling that in. ACC, obviously, had Jordan Travis been playing, you probably are essentially penciling them in, but still could be a fairly tough week game for Florida State, whoever. I think it's Louisville. I honestly can't remember if it's locked in or not. Louisville, yeah. So obviously going to be a tough game. They could lose that, and we won't really have to talk too much about that conversation at all there. So beyond that, Washington and Oregon, obviously, the winner of the Pac-12, assuming next week goes fine, is all good and dandy there. Michigan, obviously, if it wasn't for a early, honestly, very similar to what happened last year. If it wasn't for a bad fumble deep in Maryland's territory for a scoop and score, I mean, we might be talking about that Michigan and Maryland game a little differently there. Again, Michigan, Ohio State, obviously that's essentially a playoff game there, because it would be beyond shocking if either of those two teams lost to Iowa. Obviously, Iowa's a 2-loss team, but we know what their offense is, and it's not going to be any different in a week or two here. So, no, aside from that, I'm trying to figure out, you got Georgia, obviously, if they win, they're in. Ohio State or Michigan, they're in. Washington, they're in. And then that really opens the door for if Georgia has beaten Alabama, it's pretty much a walk-in if Oregon wins. So if you're leaving Florida State out with Jordan Travis injury, it does make things a little easier to figure out who's in or who's out. And obviously, if Florida State's undefeated in the ACC championship, their fans are going to be pretty upset. But unless they, like I said, unless they win by 50 these next couple of weeks, these next couple of games, it's pretty hard to put that team with their current situation over a one-loss Oregon or a one-loss Alabama, whatever it might be there.
And I feel it's unfair. They want to put so much stock into the Texas win at Alabama and kind of poo-poo the Oklahoma loss, where Oklahoma then goes on to lose a couple in a row. And I don't think they're giving Florida State enough credit for that opening week win against LSU. And this Jaden Daniels, who now at Circa, or I don't know if it was at Circa. And first of all, shout out to Mr. Saylor. Thank you. He says, congrats on the big weekend. ECSI VIPs last night. I'll go 3-0 in our weekly action parlay with the stunner Montreal Alouettes +8, +330 on the money line, beating Toronto in the last second. Winnipeg in the last few seconds to win the Grey Cup. We had the Bills -8 in the money line, and then, of course, sweated out Denver. 4 field goals, 5 field goals, and then the late touchdown there. But the fact is that LSU gives up a late touchdown at Ole Miss and gave up obviously 55 points. But the shocker, not the shocker, but the couple weeks ago, I pointed out over the weekend the huge amount of money that came in on Jaden Daniels to win the Heisman. And then that's when they traveled to Alabama and a good first half, and they struggled in the third quarter, and then he gets knocked out of the fourth quarter. And then this LSU team is no joke, okay? And then they go into a Clemson 3-point dogs or 2.5-point dogs, and they win that game. A game they shouldn't have won, by the way. Clemson had a 7-point lead, driving, strip sack, touchdown at FSU, and then Clemson missed the 29-yard field goal late to basically ice the game, and then they lose in overtime. So there's a lot going on in the Heisman right now. Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels are almost a dead heat. If Washington goes and beats them in the rematch, and they were a 6-point underdog in the look-ahead last week, we won't be having this conversation. And then again, if Oregon's take care of business, 13-point favorites against Oregon State, who again will be a little salty after what happened on Saturday with their loss. I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't, because I think the committee, when it all ends, is going to use that. If FSU goes undefeated, they're going to use the injury as a factor. They're going to use the weak ACC. Then they have to justify a one-loss SEC champion, Alabama, 3-point dogs against Georgia in the SEC championship. And the fact that Texas will be sitting outside, let's say they win the Big 12, say, well, we beat them. If you're putting them in, you're going to put us in, and then have to tell the national media that Georgia's not one of the top 4 teams in the country.
Yeah, I don't see it. It's obviously there's a tough nut to crack, and I think Texas is the way it's been shaken out. If those things happen, that's obviously, or maybe not obviously, but that's probably what's going to happen there. But I mean, you could go the other way and say Georgia, Ohio State, or Michigan win. They're obviously getting in. Washington wins, they're in, and then the fourth team. That obviously opens the door. It's a 0-loss Florida State or the 1-loss Texas team. You're probably putting Texas in. So that's the scenario that Texas needs, obviously, because a 1-loss Oregon or Alabama probably going to have that leg up on them. So, I'm curious to see how it all shakes out. And obviously, Alabama, I didn't see what the line for our Alabama-Auburn is. We assume they're going to steamroll Auburn here by 15 is the line. And Auburn lost. Who did Auburn? I already forgot who Auburn lost to. It was so bad. So New Mexico State. So, the look ahead of all look ahead spots for a mediocre team. So I'm sure they'll give Alabama their best shot, but their best shot probably isn't going to be enough next week by any means there. But I think at the end of the day though, you still. We do have to give credit to Georgia because the last 5-6 weeks, especially, they've been playing out of their mind and they're dominating these teams. So I would be really surprised. I don't know what I'd be surprised the most by because obviously, if Georgia loses to Alabama by 3 scores or something like that, I think that's probably easier for people to cope with. But if they play an all-time classic or something along those lines and it's a one-possession game, it would be a hard pill to swallow for Georgia to not be in there. So I'm gonna go on record and say Georgia's getting in some way or another.
Yeah, and again, everyone last year looking at TCU, looking at Michigan, and saying to the world, well, we all knew Alabama was one of the top 4 teams in the country. The same's going to be said with the one-loss Georgia team. And the fact of the matter is they haven't lost in almost 3 years. They're 2-time defending champs. So there's going to be some sour grapes. There's going to be some, spilt milk here. The Michigan fans, if they lose to Ohio State, are going to be sitting here bitching because the fact that they haven't had their coach for like 7 games, right? He was suspended for 4 games to start the season. Now he's suspended for the last 3, and you can mark it down again. It's 4/16 on November 20th, 5/17, excuse me, November 20th. Jim Harbaugh will not be coaching Michigan next year. He will be back in the NFL, whether it's for San Diego, LA Chargers, excuse me, or go back to the Bears. One of those 2 teams, Team Khaki will be coaching. So like Pete Carroll when he went back to USC and then he came to Seattle, the same thing's happening for Harbaugh. So there will be a mess. Listen, I can sit here with a straight face and say, who the hell has Michigan played this year? Can you give me someone?
The answer is no.
I mean, Ohio State.
Penn State is it.
And Ohio State won on the last play at Notre Dame, who's got 3 losses this year. So I don't even know who Ohio State has played. I mean, they beat Penn State. So that's the common denominator. You can look at Georgia, you can look at Alabama, and you can say, well, they're non-schedule. They didn't play anyone this year. The one Alabama non-scheduled game, they lost at home to Texas. If you can't say with a straight face that the Pac-12 top to bottom hasn't been the best conference here, then you're not watching. I mean, with the Penix Juniors, the Caleb Williams, who USC sucks right now because they mailed it in weeks ago. Okay, but you have the Heisman Trophy winner there from last year. You got Penix Jr. You got Bo Nix. I mean, a Utah team that's played real well, an Oregon State team that's played real well. UCLA has shown flashes. So, guys, I mean, you got to open up the eyes. I mean, the Big 12. I mean, yeah, Texas has got to win against Alabama. They lost to Oklahoma. I mean, listen, if Texas doesn't get in, I'm not shedding any tears. If you went into Alabama this past weekend and beat them, that's a whole different story. You went into week 4 with Milrose, and they weren't even unsure of their quarterback. So I don't think they have a leg to stand on if they get snubbed.
Texas? No, I don't think so either. To give credit, Ohio State also beat Notre Dame, but you could argue they probably could have or should have lost that game. That was
the last play of the game. The last play of the game.
Ugly offense. I agree. I was on Notre Dame. I thought Notre Dame was going to win that game. And then Michigan obviously has just steamrolled everybody, but it's the Big Ten West plus the 3-4 teams in the Big Ten East that stink. So no, I'm with you. The Pac-12 is going to get a team. I think is going to get a team in, and a one-loss Oregon if they beat Washington. I think will jump over Florida State there for sure. So. And beyond that, I don't know if I've got anything else too much. I mean, we don't, unless there's a crazy upset, we probably won't learn too much other than Ohio State and Michigan this upcoming week, I don't think, unless I'm drawing a blank on something. And then, Florida State right now is only a 6.5-point favorite at Florida. So, like I said, we'll see what happens. But I don't know. If Florida State wins, like I said, I am not expecting that. But if they put up a 50 burger 2 weeks in a row, is that enough with after Jordan Travis goes down to get them in as a 0-loss ACC team?
Style points will be huge. Louisville's played well. They've shocked a few teams. They've lost themselves. The funny thing is when Jordan got hurt, they were down, and the kid came in and he struggled. But then I think they scored on like 6 or 7 straight. So they'll have a full week to get ready. And again, it's rivalry week. So you talked about Alabama and Auburn. I don't see Bo Jackson and Cam Newton suiting up for Auburn. So thanks for playing there. Florida now, again, the Jordan Travis injury. Florida has risen to the occasion on a few times. They've laid some eggs and some others. So this is their Super Bowl. I wouldn't be shocked if they won. I wouldn't be shocked if they lost by double digits. But if Florida eked out a win and then eked out a win to Louisville and didn't gain those style points, they're going to find a reason. If it's a big if, because the whole world's going to be on Alabama, by the way. 2 years ago, Georgia was undefeated. Alabama had 1 loss. Yep. Alabama knew if it lost, it was still Georgia. Jesus, Jeff, slow down. If Georgia lost that game, they knew they were still in. And they didn't open up the playbook in the second half. Alabama wins. Georgia still gets in. They win those 2 games. They're national champs, okay? There's no guarantee if Georgia loses this game that they're in. So you're still going to see that Georgia team versus a good team flex its muscles. If Alabama beats them, they deserve to be in. And if it's a 31-30 or 33-30 walk-off field goal, I think the committee's going to have a hard time not to put both of those SEC teams in.
I agree with you, and I've regained so much respect for this Georgia team in the last few weeks. The way they're beating people up right now, too. So it wouldn't shock. This could be a moot point in Georgia. I credit to Alabama the way they've regained traction. They have looked awesome. It wouldn't shock me if Georgia won by 3 scores against Alabama if they put all their full effort into that game like you're talking about there. I think it'll be a great game. I am very, very excited there in 2 weeks, a week and a half essentially. So I think it'll be a good game. But I have kind of swung back on Georgia is the clear best team in the country at this point. I could be proven wrong, but they have looked like the best team in the country once again, without a doubt. You could have argued all season long, still undefeated 2-time champ, but I think now, after a few points in the season, looking a little vulnerable. They do not look as vulnerable as they did earlier in the season.
No, and like the Washington-Oregon State game, I think the whole world will be on Alabama. I don't think it's going to go to 3.5. I don't think it's going to go to 2.5. I think the books will leave it at 3, and if it lands on 3, so be it. You're talking to someone that a month ago, I think it was, maybe even 5 weeks ago, they gave out Alabama plus 2,000. Our clients are sitting with Alabama tickets on DraftKings plus 2,000. And obviously I'm rooting to get into the Final Four. And I don't think if Alabama gets in and Georgia gets in, and then the winner of Michigan, Ohio State, and the winner of Oregon, Washington, it'll be interesting to see who Alabama matched up at, and the point spread. It won't be much either which way. And so I think it'll be sad because we'll be going, who was it? And my memory's foggy right now. Who was that undefeated team that got left out? Oh, UCF that year that they were undefeated and they got left out. And what could have been, and yada, yada, yada. And there's someone that's going to say that. And if it's Texas, boo-hoo. If it's Oregon, I'm not even going to say that because a one-loss Oregon or an undefeated Washington's in. So it'll be interesting. They'll use the Jordan Travis injury, obviously, and we'll see how they play the next 2 weeks. So, Mike, it's okay. I was surprised with the call, and then I did call you back. Life gets busy. Happy holidays. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. We'll catch up at some point. So, NFL, you're wearing the Packers jersey, and let me just say this. For a Justin Herbert fan, I've never seen, and I think he got me 34 points in a couple of my fantasy teams. I've never seen more inept. Let me see. Keenan Allen, who had 10 catches, gets hit right in the numbers on the goal line, drops it. Austin Eckler fumbles on the 4. And then on the final drive, pizza pan hands Quentin Johnson, who is a bust, who drops what could have been probably a 60-yard touchdown. He makes N'Keal Harry look like, Jerry Rice. I've never seen, and it's just like he drops it and he gets up and shakes his hand. I mean, what are you teaching at TCU? Never mind now in the pros. I mean, what has Justin Herbert got to do?
And there was a key early in the game, might have been in the first drive. I want to say it was a 4th and 4 or something like that around the 50. Packers had gone for it on their opening drive. If my memory serves me correctly, Packers go for it, don't get it. Or maybe I'm flip-flopping. Either way, Chargers had an early 4th and 4 or something like that. Parham right on the numbers, right on the helmet, bounces right off of him, gives it right back to the Packers too. I mean, again, as someone who also is a massive believer and fan of Justin Herbert, he looked great yesterday. And really, it was I've watched a lot of Chargers games, but getting that close of a look at it, watching just about every down like I do with the Packers, kind of just double down on Keenan Allen. Again, hit him right in the numbers, the one that he missed. Obviously, blame it on the sunshade difference there if you want. That's fine, but it's still, again, couldn't have hit him right in literally right in between the numbers, under the chin. For one of the top 15 receivers in the league. But behind that, I'm a big Austin Eckler fan too. Last few weeks, they haven't really been using him in the pass game. But aside from that, they've got 10 cans upon 10 cans for targets for this guy right now, man. And that drop, I couldn't even believe my eyes. Off the hands, off the knees, and he's still going to come back and be the number 2 receiver potentially the next week. So. No, and it's a Packers offensive performance. Jordan Love, probably the best offensive performance he had all season long, but obviously we know how mediocre to bad this Chargers defense is. So a lot of room to roam for these Packers receivers to kind of find some open space. Dontavian Wicks, 91 yards. Who if you haven't been watching Packers, you probably don't know who he is. He's made some nice catches, but Romeo Doubs, decent game. Jaden Reed, nice rushing touchdown. He looked great yesterday. Christian Watson with the 1 touchdown, but still in a game where the Packers receivers were running free and wild, he still, aside from the 1 touchdown, did not have a very good game there. So interested to see how it goes the rest of the way here. I do think you'll see a big game from him. Hopefully that builds some confidence, but he just doesn't have the same fire and same pop that he did last year there. So again, Austin Eckler, 10 carries, 64 yards. In a close game like this, I know he's not the bell cow type running back, but with as bad as this Packers run defense was, and again, I think it was one big run that Eckler had, so maybe boosted that up a little bit, but really did not emphasize that at all yesterday. So Staley, obviously, if you saw, getting testy with the reporters, I've been calling for his head for 2 years. I don't even know how long at this point. I feel like I'm banging my head against the wall. It feels like it's been 5 years, but it's probably only been a year and a half or 2, for God's sake. So, no, I'm with you. Obviously, as someone who likes Jim Harbaugh, but obviously does not want to see him coach the Chicago Bears, would love to see him right here in sunny Los Angeles. So, no, I don't know what else has to happen with the team. Obviously, Joey Bosa going down is crushing to them. I don't remember seeing a report of how bad and how long it was. It did not look good, obviously, but still a team that's got such a high payroll on defense. So and for a head coach who is a defensive coach and is calling the plays, and for it to be as bad as it is, it's just bizarre and head scratching that he's had this long of a leash. So they get another tough game against the Ravens. This upcoming Sunday, I believe it is. It's 4-point dogs, so I'm sure they'll give a good effort. The players will give a good effort, but they lose that game to go to 4-7. I mean, what are we doing here with the team that should be making the playoffs year in and year out here? So, and you obviously want to capitalize on Justin Herbert at this age. I mean, he looks fantastic this season. He's playing one of his best seasons in the NFL, and they're 4-6. So. That's more of a rant on the Chargers than it was anything for the Packers there. So I'm not sure what to expect out of the Packers going forward. They got 2 tough games, obviously, and the schedule gets quite a bit easier after that. So if they can manage to eke out a win somehow, some way, then they're shockingly enough 4-6 is the first team out of the playoffs right now. So I'm not sitting here saying the Packers are going to the playoffs. But if they can manage to scratch out one of these two games and the Vikings and Josh Dobbs continue to stumble, then that seventh seed in the NFL or NFC is going to be back up for grabs as a 9-win team potentially.
Yeah, Russell brings up Eckler looks slow. I was talking to one of my colleagues today, and he said the same thing. And they have not used him of late in that passing game, so I don't think he's a full 100% back. Big comeback from the Lions, and Fields looked good coming back, and then again had a two-score lead, and then just didn't finish the deal. Lions come all the way back and win. Short week. They host your Packers on Thursday. Philly lost tonight, by the way, and then the Lions will now have 2 losses tied with Philly there for the number 1 seed in the NFC. 49ers, just a business like, I saw a lot of people on Twitter that had the over, and they, Baker back-to-back times drives it in the red zone, and you're down where they can't kick the field goal to get the over, or at least cover the 10.5, 11, what everyone was getting there. Baker played okay. Rashad White played all right, but again, the Niners, a great performance by Brock Purdy, 3 touchdowns. Niners rounding into form there. I'm going to put you up solo for 1 second if you want to start the breakdown of tonight's NFL game with the Eagles and at Kansas City. I'll be right.
Alrighty, sounds good. And yes, as far as the Buccaneers are concerned, 4-6, obviously not looking fantastic. And what was it, a 3-1 start? So obviously 1-5 since then, not playing well. But schedule gets a heck of a lot easier after that game yesterday. So again, not a team that I think is very good, but a team that with 5-5 as the standard in the division right now. I think all of those teams probably have a fairly easy schedule, and it's going to come down to the divisional games. But Falcons, Tampa Bay, and Saints still wide open for who wins that thing. And Saints themselves, they've got the Lions on the schedule, and pretty easy outside of that. So again, it's going to come down to those games and who can win those games. But the Falcons going back to Desmond Ridder. They've got, again, like I said, looking at it now, they all have easy schedules. So one of those teams has to win it, but it's probably going to be an 8-9 team, 9-8 team there. So as far as anything else in the NFL yesterday, Rams getting the win over the Seahawks. Seahawks, I love the Seahawks defense, but that offense is still a little inconsistent. Obviously, divisional game there in the NFC West, still a little tightly contested. And then Broncos, credit to the Broncos, playing a lot better football lately, 5-5 now. If they were in the NFC, would probably be very live to get that last spot. Not dead by any means. Their schedule has some winnable games on it. They've got the Browns coming up, where they are actually the favorite at home this upcoming week. Houston after that, so 2 tough games, obviously. Chargers as well. Tough games, but winnable games, I guess is my point here. So I'm not going to hold my breath saying that they're going to make the playoffs, but they're going to surprise some people in a few of these games, in my opinion there. So let's see. Aside from that, Houston getting the win over the Cardinals, huge for their division chances and playoff chances there in Houston. Cardinals obviously still scrappy and looking decent, so curious to see what they look like the last handful of weeks here, winning a couple of games with Kyler Murray there. He looks all right. But as we mentioned, tonight's game, Eagles and Chiefs. This one is in Kansas City, Super Bowl rematch. 2.5-point spread here at home for the Chiefs in favor of those Chiefs over the Eagles. 45.5 now. I see a lot of 46s on the game total. 45.5 on FanDuel. Looks like it just ticked down, I think. And you've got team totals for these two. I believe both of them are right around Kansas City. I see 23.5 minus 120 to the over, about plus 100 to the under. A couple spots you might be seeing 24.5 plus 100 to the over there. Whereas the Eagles look like it's right around 21.5, 22.5 to the over under for the Philadelphia Eagles. We have not seen these two teams in over a week and a half, both coming off of a bye week. Kansas City's last game was that Frankfurt game against the Dolphins, 21-14. Eagles' last game was that Sunday night game against the Cowboys. But both these teams, obviously 8-1, 7-2, so obviously playing or winning games. Obviously, both teams have had moments of not looking great, but obviously looking very, very good. Any is there a theme in this game for you tonight that you're seeing, or I guess my immediate thought here is that for a Super Bowl that was in the 30s, a situation where primetime unders have been the buzz around these Thursday, Sunday, and Monday night games, and now I'm seeing the public flooding to the over with a 45.5, 46. I think we could see in these team totals in the mid-20s. I think we could see two teams that have shown a lot of defensive ability this year. Obviously, show up a little bit, and maybe this field that game where the field was slick and offenses were running wild might see a little closely contested defensive matchup. What are you thinking on this one tonight?
I just have to say this, and I'm not trying to go off track. This is an all-time classic. This is not Army Navy. I'm going to college for 1 second. Army Navy, which I and Anthony Pepe for Sports Map Radio will be broadcasting on December 9th, that Saturday. I just pulled up my football sheet. Iowa, Nebraska under over 26 and a half. 26 and a half. First one to 13 wins. Can you imagine that? I've never seen a under over that low in my life. And I know Iowa, every game's under. I get that. But 26 and a half, and they'll all bet the under, and the final score will be 13-10. So, I said it in the alert. The numbers are just screaming under, and I'll flock right to the team totals. Kansas City 23 and a half over minus 125, which you and I both know they're dying for you to take the over there in Kansas City and lay the 25 cents. You're better off, if you like Kansas City, just to bet the money line on them there. And a Philly at 22. And my true number was 3-48. Okay, that was my true number. They come up with 45, 45 and a half, now 46. The initial thought is Vegas has this peg 24-21, Kansas City and Butker walk-off field goal. Both teams coming off a bye. What will you see? I think both teams can get to 24, and the walk-off field goal is 27-24. That's where my eyes would be. I passed on it, as you know. I passed here. I know both. The funny thing with Philly is they like to play ground control. They like to play keep away, which is the perfect style to beat Patrick Mahomes. But this Kansas City defense is like a top 3, top 4 defense now in the league, and they're not going to allow you to do that. I think Jalen's going to have to throw the ball more. I think he's going to can't be fixated on A.J. Brown. Devontae Smith is going to have to be a part of the offense. Don't forget, go Dart, whatever you want to call the tight end there. Maybe, DeAndre Swift, not Taylor Swift, has a big day for Philly in the backfield there. But the numbers scream under. When are you ever going to get two things? When are you going to get the Chiefs? 2.5-point favorites at home. You never will with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, number one. Number two, when you're going to get the Eagles as an underdog. That doesn't happen. So this is a popcorn. This is a pom-poms game for me. If I had to throw out a prop, I was trying to get cute here on both sides, my thought process. For Kansas City, he was starting to come on before the break, and I'm going to stick to him. And I'm going to say first-time TD and anytime TD, Justin Watson for the Chiefs there. And then on the Philly side, I always have a love affair with Devontae Smith, but I'm going to go DeAndre Swift. I'm going to go anytime TD for DeAndre Swift. And if you want to do first-time TD, I'll go DeAndre Swift. And as you like to sprinkle on some quarterback TDs, I could see, obviously, Jalen Hurts getting in the end zone today as well.
Yeah, I don't hate that. Plus 110 for Jalen Hurts. But, no, the other thing to mention is, the other narrative that people are kind of blowing their minds that they can have the option is Andy. I don't know what the exact numbers are, but Andy Reid off of a bye is is probably the most notoriously fantastic coach off of a bye. I think from a public standpoint in the history of the NFL, if not actually in the history of the NFL. And so to have them in this spot as 2.5 at home, I'm not saying sitting here, oh my gosh, this is a fishy line. That's not at all what I'm saying, because as you said, you could take the other side of the coin and say, man, you can get the Eagles at plus money underdogs tonight. So I still see it from that standpoint 100%. So it almost has me leaning towards the Eagles if I'm being forced to take a side either between the two. But I'm still kind of going back and forth. And for a Chiefs offense that the last couple of times we've seen them has not been looking that great. You had that Dolphins game 21-14, but that included that crazy defensive turnover, defensive flip that really changed that game. So I expect their offense to be better. You would expect it to be better. So that's another head-scratching part of it here. So I am leaning towards the under. I don't know which side I'm leaning on the team here. I'll lean towards the Eagles, but it's a coin flip lean obviously there. And then as for my props, I'll say I think it is time for. I don't know about touchdown. I would feel better about Devontae Smith getting some yards here, getting up around I think 60+ yards is the number there. I would lean towards that. But as far as touchdown scorers, not going to go to Travis Kelce at -115 when the entire world is watching and the Swifties are watching. So I'll maybe pass on that one, although obviously he could get in there. I'll go. The guy Rashee Rice has been playing well. I'll go Rashee Rice for the Chiefs there on a receiving touchdown potentially there, and I will go. You know me, I like my backup running backs over here. I'll go. I'll go Kenneth Gainwell to find his way into the end zone for the Eagles there.
No, I like where your eyes are. Again, the whole world on a Kels, the whole world on a Jalen Hurts. I get all that. Trying to find some value with some opportunity. You will see Mahomes at the end of the first quarter, 8 for 9 with 7 different wide receivers, including Kels. So the swing on Justin Watson is again what I saw before the break. And again, Rashee Rice has been trending forward for them. And on the other side, again, what will they do without Godart there? Will be interesting to see there. College hoops, as you said earlier, a lot of games going on. We don't have to go through the whole board. My Huskies are in a good spot, supposedly on paper today. Let me switch screens here. Listen, they started the year last year the same way. Got where is it here? 6 o'clock start against Texas. My true number was 5 with a 143.5. It's up to 6.5 at circa right now with a 145. Texas coming off a barn burner against Louisville, and UConn just gentlemanlike as always. Sunday against Indiana. 20-point win there. I expect the Huskies to win. Now, I'll just say this out loud. I would not be shocked to see a close, grab-ass, tough game here with Texas, kind of the peek ahead game versus a down Louisville team. And now they get the Huskies defending champs there. So I know it's at Madison Square. I get all that. The UConn second home here. I think this game is going to be a lot tighter than people think.
No, I'm with you on that one. And the only game that I had to add, obviously, go figure, is the Big Ten. With one decent game with the Big Ten team. Kind of it wouldn't shock me at all if they laid an egg again, but kind of a look yourself in the mirror spot early here for Wisconsin against the now top 25 team in Virginia, 4-0. And we don't have to replay it again, but Wisconsin, a big year for Greg Gard, to where if they can't be a top 5 team in the Big Ten and a second weekend and win a game in the NCAA tournament, let alone make it at all, then he's probably gone here. And again, is their season over if they lose tonight? No, but a situation where you obviously want to start stacking some resume wins here when you've got the chance for them here. And two teams that play a slow kind of paint drying style basketball clashing against each other. So I'm not saying it's going to be the most entertaining game to watch. I'm excited for this one to start, but nonetheless, like I said, it's a look yourself in the mirror spot here for Wisconsin. So that's not necessarily driving me put my money down on them, but I'll go with Wisconsin, lean towards Wisconsin covering and getting the win here against Virginia.
Yeah, I had a 2.5 with a 129.5, and we talked about this at length last year, covering the Virginia and West Virginia games. I'm sorry, Virginia and Wisconsin games. Back in the day, 112s, 115s, over-unders, and they would go crashing under. There were some 125s, 130s from both these schools last year, and they went flying over. I would look at the over here if you can get it at 124.5. First one to 65 wins this game. It is a perfect, I repeat, perfect spot for Wisconsin here. They match up well against Virginia. They both play the same style. They didn't travel well, obviously, to Providence. They got run out of the gym early. This is a perfect spot for them, not only to look themselves in the mirror, but I do like Wisconsin in this game.
I'm with you, and I like the thought on the over. I was smiling because I'm looking back the last two times they played. It's been a few years, 2017 and 2018. 49-37 and 53-46. And the last time was a 119 and it went under. So I will go with you and say we go over. I'll go 65-63 Wisconsin. It might be a close one, but this is kind of a big early one here for Wisconsin to get themselves back on track and on pace here.
And looking at the board, the late night at 10:30, UCLA Marquette. My true number was Marquette -6 with a 137. They've jumped into the over at 141.5 now, with Marquette still laying the 6. Not one of the UCLA Final Four squads. They're good, but they're not Marquette good. And unfortunately, all year, you're going to get some tough numbers. I'll say inflated numbers on this Marquette squad, which a lot of people think Shaka is going to get them not only through the Big East championship, but to a potential Final Four this year. Some even get them winning it all. I think they're loaded. I think they're strong across the board. Shaka brings something to the team and the country. We've seen him at his best. We've seen him at his worst. This is one of the better Shaka Smart teams that he has had in a long, long time.
Yeah, 100%. I'm a big Shaka fan. I was looking at it today. I'm going to try and find myself into they've got a couple good non-conference games, but I think you'll see me at in Milwaukee for a nice Marquette Big East showdown there. Maybe it's against your Huskies late in the season. I don't know. But I'm going to find my way up to Milwaukee. It's I might live half the mileage to Chicago, but sometimes it's actually easier to get up to Milwaukee than it is to get into my own Chicago games here, as sad as that is. So anyways, as far as the NBA is concerned, handful of games tonight. A couple that I was looking at here. Tough one to crack here, but I had two games in a row that I had winners on the Pelicans. Zion was out. They had a second night of a back-to-back on Saturday. Zion sat that one out. I think everyone is back in play tonight. Kings, however, we talked about them as kind of struggling out of the gates. They've won, I think, 5 in a row here. Now with Fox back, they're playing a lot better offensively. They are 1-point favorites here on the road against the Pelicans. I do think the Pelicans are like I said, I had them a couple times in a row. I like them to start playing a lot better ball and get above 500 and be a top 6 team potentially in the West. But would have respected them more as favorites. But again, at the same time, a Kings team that's rattling off 5 in a row and has the public kind of falling in love again. Maybe there's some factor to that in it. I'm not sure, but I think I would have respected the Pelicans as home favorites here against this Kings team.
Yeah, and I'll just go to another Big Ten at halftime. Gonzaga 35, Purdue 30. Will probably, let me see, I think Purdue closed around 5.5. Be interesting to see what the second half number is. My gut would probably say around 6.5, if not 7, to still have Purdue to get the win. So when that comes up, I'll say everything. I agree with you, but again, we expect a lot from this Kings team. So once Fox returns, they're not going to give us any freebies. If you want them, you got to take the money line. My eyes automatically flock to the over here. I had 237.5 with the Kings as a 1 point favorite. It's down to 236 with the Kings still a 1 point favorite. So I expect a lot of points to be scored. Make this real simple. First one to 120 wins. How's that?
Yep, I can get behind that one for sure. Another one that's kind of in that range of if they've got some single-digit numbers against really good teams, maybe use a little extra close look here. However, the Nuggets have not been playing well, but they are in Detroit as 9.5 point favorites, 9 point favorites for a 2-12 Detroit team that I like what they're building there, but still no depth whatsoever for Detroit there. Just lost by 30 last night as 9.5 point dogs at Toronto, and have a I don't know how many game losing streak right now. So that one at least was maybe buyer beware on the Nuggets a little bit on that one. And then still don't have any. The Clippers-Spurs game, I'm not interested in laying any amount of points like that with the Clippers. Spurs have also been losing their faces off, so that's why you got an 8.5. So I don't really know what to make out of that one. Clippers did get a win the other day, but I'm still not touching that one with the 10-foot pole. And then Knicks has 2.5 point dogs in Minnesota with a Minnesota team that they did lose one to end their losing streak, but 9-3 playing really good ball. Back at home, you might expect them, to be back at home. Happy to be back at home. I might lean towards the Knicks in this one as the plus 2.5 point dogs there on the road in Minnesota. But nothing would surprise me there. And then let's see, was there another one? I'm staying away from.
Yes, there's a big one.
Staying away from the old Chicago Bulls tonight after getting the win against the Heat there. That one is one that I am staying away from. You've got Houston and Golden State tonight. Was the Bulls game the one you were waiting for me to go to?
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Yeah. It's a team that, unless you've got a number that smacks you in the face and said the Bulls are favored by this, they were 2-point dogs the other night. Now 1.5 point dogs after winning against the Heat. Still kind of feels like maybe a Bulls number there, but with Zach LaVine storming off the court after they won has me with just about zero interest in playing these Bulls game right now.
Well, again, they want you to go to the Heat. You want to go to the money line. I actually had the Bulls 2 point favorites with a 209. It flipped to Miami 1.5. Of course, we know they're not going to lose two in a row. With a 210, I would go back to the Bulls. I would just take the 1.5 as a gift. And the LaVine thing is getting ugly. You're either going to have to pull them aside and say, "Hey, kid, you're under contract. You're going to suck it up." Or you're going to have to do something a little more drastic, sit him down and then try to figure out what's best. Because in other words, he tries to force his way out while you're only getting 25, 30 cents on the dollar. I know there's a handful of teams that would desperately love to add him. And so you're going to have to nip this one in the bud pretty damn quick.
And it after that, he essentially stormed off the court after they won in a nice fashion against the Heat, and kind of keep brushing off any type of questions to it. So I think they're going to trade him rather soon, potentially there, or nip it in the bud and try hopefully drive that trade price up. Because credit to the rest of the team does seem to still be unified and still be playing with some heart. I mean, the rest of the team isn't in shambles as much as he is, but it's a team that I'm still. It's a team that could show up and do anything on any night. So it is a Bulls number, but I will be bowing out of this one myself.
I see Purdue -4 in one spot. They're down 5. So this is basic 101 to anyone who wants to pay attention and listen to this. If you're seeing a 4 and they're down 5 and you think Purdue's going to win the game, you're actually buying 6. And people look at me and they're on social media and Twitter and they're like, no, I'm buying 4. Okay, so if Purdue wins the second half by 4, they lose the game outright by 1. If they win the second half by 5, they're down 5. So what's that mean? It goes to overtime, and overtime counts. Okay, so If you like Purdue -4 in the second half, do yourself a favor. This is the square peg in the round hole theory. Just take them right now in the money line to win the game outright. That's it. Well, Jeff, what happens if they win by 4? Well, I was wrong. I apologize. The point is, if you like Purdue to win this game, just take them right now outright to win the game, because it's 4. Now that's going up to 5, and it's 4.5 at DraftKings. So my point is, again, it's 3.5 at FanDuel, Pennsylvania. It's only if you like Purdue to win the game. Don't buy the 4, silly, in the second half. Go find what they are in the money line and take them in the money line to win the game outright. That's all.
100%. I think a lot of people need more lessons like that, where you kind of have to. And again, if you don't think about it and break it down, obviously I can't fault anyone for, kind of thinking past that and just taking whatever you said, the spread there. So no, it's those types of lessons are good, where you might say, this might not happen for you, but it is at least a better strategy than laying the 4 in, like you're saying there, because of they have to win. They got to get there. So aside from that, I don't have too much else, my friend. I don't know if you had anything else to mention for tonight's sake before we get on out of here.
I'm going to pull up the hockey. I'll blast through some team totals real quick, and we'll get everyone out of here. Let me just scroll down here. Here we go. Edmonton, Florida is a 7. Let me go over to here for 1 second. Yeah, see, now it's up to 5, 5.5. There are some 4s. So again, people are just bouncing all over the place there. 1 second here. Let's get to hockey. Edmonton travels to Florida. Under over was 6.5 with a 118, or Oilers -102, up to 7 everywhere else. If you like either side of this game, you can get plus money on the team totals. Edmonton team total over 3.5, you can get plus 105. Florida team total over 3.5, you can get plus 105 or even money. First 1 to 4, you cash the ticket there. Bruins tonight. If you like the Bruins, they're traveling to Tampa. Overnight number -140 with a 6.5 under. They are right now 136 at the circa with a 6.5 juiced under. If you like the Bruins and don't want to lay the -136 or 140, you don't want to play regulation, you don't want to play -1.5, you can get a great plus number on the Bruins team total over 3.5. plus 120. So if you like the Bruins and you want to get cute tonight, just get to 4. It doesn't matter if they win or lose. You can get them at plus 120 tonight. If you like the Avs tonight in Nashville, instead of laying the 155 or 165, team total over 3.5 at even money. If you like Dallas tonight, -128 against the Rangers. Here's a big, big dog. And we hit on this last Monday, by the way, and I think it was Dallas or the Blues. You can get Dallas tonight, not lay any juice. Team total over 3.5, plus 145. We hit on this last Monday. Big, big dog to get to 4 or better with Dallas. Over 3.5, plus 145. Here's the here it was right here, Riley. It was Colorado to get to 5 or better. That's what it was at plus 140, and we got there. You got the same tonight. Vancouver playing the Sharks. Do you know the way to San Jose? Vancouver is -370 overnight, now -360, 375 at DraftKings. Under over 6.5. If you don't want to play the Canucks, -1.5, minus the 370 or regulation, here's the free bingo square or the free beer and pizza money. Team total over 4.5. They got to get to 5 or better, guys. Plus 140. So Vancouver plus 140 to get to 5 or better. And the same with Calgary and Seattle. If you like either one of those to get to 4 or better, you can get their team total at plus 135. Closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts. Nothing too crazy, my friend. We've, as we mentioned in the start, we got a short week, so I believe I will be around about this time, same time tomorrow. We're ready to rock and roll for whatever we got going on tomorrow. And then, as you mentioned, you've got Wednesday shows looking like Friday. So outside of that, I'll be ready to rock and roll, get us geared up for as many days as we need to get geared up with. Obviously, got good college football Friday and Saturday, obviously, as well as college basketball all week long. So should be a fun, short week, and I'll be ready to roll for it, my friend.
Tomorrow, if my memory serves me correct, at 1 o'clock, I'll be on the NFL Bet Exchange with Pop DiBiase live from LA. 3 o'clock, Andrew McGinnis from Wager Talk will be here. You and I will be here right around 4:30, give or take, depending on the length of the shows. Wednesday, the goal is obviously, if available, we'll do our breakfast bankroll, Big Ten preview, college basketball and football, which is usually our Friday show. We'll do that around 10:30 on Wednesday. And then I have 1 o'clock scheduled off. 3:30 will be the Matt and Q talking some NCAAF. And then at 5 o'clock will be Ron Marmolevsky from Ron A Sports talking NCAA and NFL. Tomorrow night, 8 to 10, Sports Map Radio. I'll be live at the compound there with Anthony Pepe. So we're trying to shorten the week and shorten it up, get everything in, so it'll be a little hectic. Turn on your notifications, never miss a show. Shout out to Bama Marty, shout out to Russell Saylor, shout out to Mike Magnet, and everyone else watching and listening. Great show as always. Ton of action out there. It's Monday, guys. It's a holiday week. We tend to let our guard down this week. What happens is it's a new week. We push in. You got college basketball all day and night. You got the NHL. You got the Super Bowl rematch. You wake up Tuesday and you're like, oh my God, what did I do? And then you start chasing Tuesday and Wednesday, Thursday, Thanksgiving, which for most is a big day. High school football games, family. And, it's not an easy day for some people that are struggling. But my point is, some people tend to let their guard down. Let's just say, might crack open the eggnog or a brandy or two a little early before the turkey comes out, and you wake up Friday morning and with the big squashmallow, and you're almost out of bullets, and it's payday. And do I pay this? Do I pay that? Or shit, I better pay the man now so I can play Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So try to stay in your lanes. Have some fun. Any questions, comments, concerns, you can send me a direct message on Twitter at EC Sports Invest, or send me an email. Send it to eastcoastsportsinvestors@gmail.com. From the one and only Riley Magnuson at Riley_Magnuson, the one, and myself at EC Sports Invest, we thank you all. Have a great night. Enjoy yourselves. Have some fun. And we will see you soon.